Okay, what are we doing here, hon?
We are doing an end of tomato season, how we're wrapping up the season, and what we've done to the tomatoes recently to get them ready for fall. And at the end of the video, we're going to do a review of the tomatoes, what we liked, what we didn't like. It's very subjective, but if you're interested, I'll put a timestamp somewhere so that you can go find it. And then you can skip this part about what we do for end of season. But this week, we went through the tomato plants and we topped all of them. We took off the shade cloth, which required a little bit of trickery because some of the plants had grown through the shade cloth. So we had to do a little cutting and then remove the shade cloth. We also, as you can see, trimmed up the plants considerably. Anything we didn't particularly care for either got pulled out altogether or really trimmed down hard. And what's left are, fingers crossed, the last of our tomatoes that will ripen very nicely. Now, we've had some debates the last couple days. Was it a good idea to take off the shade cloth? Because now Jason's thinking, are the birds going to come down here and start pecking at the tomatoes? Do the plants really actually need the shade cloth still? So we're not really sure if we're going to put the shade cloth back on, but for now it's off. And these are what the tomatoes look like now. If you have any comments or questions, or you do something similar, let us know in the comments below. And hopefully we'll be able to update you in a couple weeks with some new ripe tomatoes. Now, we got a lot of tomatoes out of this plot this year. These are all our indeterminate tomatoes. We grew the determinate tomatoes back in the other part of the garden, but this video is just about the indeterminate tomatoes. Jason ran an experiment where he used worm casting tea on half of them and half did not, and of course most of them had the shade cloth on them, and then there were a few that did not. We got a lot of tomatoes, as I said, and I'll put the weight here so far somewhere on the screen so you can see the total so far, and we do hope to get a few more. But let's get into the tomatoes that we liked this year and the tomatoes we're probably not going to grow again. Okay. Before I forget, one of the things we did for the shade cloth, on our T-posts we had these lovely white plastic pieces. We did buy them. Jason believes a tennis ball would work just as well, and he's right. But it really kept the shade cloth intact. We had no tears in the shade cloth, even where the tomatoes grew up through them. Once we cut them out, they were totally fine. So definitely a worthwhile investment to help keep your shade cloth going, because they're not cheap. Okay, the review. So I'm here in front of our Sun Gold tomato. This was definitely the tops in terms of the non-red. And the other one we grew was a honeycomb. We thought we'd like the honeycomb better. Sun Golds sometimes had a thicker skin, but generally speaking, in taste tests, the Sun Golds won. My mom really liked the Cherry Baby. I'm also standing next to a Cherry Baby over here. She loved the way it tasted when it roasted. The ones we did not like, unfortunately, were the Black Cherry and Black Prince. Both of those tomatoes were very difficult to determine when they were done. My mom also thought that the Black Cherry tomato looked gray when it was ready, which she did not find attractive. Now, the Black Prince was probably the most prolific cherry tomato that we had, but it's so hard to figure out when it's ripe. You get like a day, so it's not ripe, not ripe, not ripe. It's ripe for a day and then it's overripe and you don't like it. But it is a beautiful tomato the whole time it's growing, whether it's ripe or not. So if you just want a tomato as sort of an ornamental plant, I might recommend that one because it was a really pretty plant. I'm going to kind of run the really big ones and the medium-sized ones together. Our top for huge would be Abe Lincoln. Abe Lincoln gave us the biggest tomato we had all year, which was over 2 pounds and would have won the state fair. So we love the Abe Lincoln, and we're going to grow that one again. But the Trophy, Damsel, and Madams were also lovely. The Madams in particular, I think, are definitely a winner. Atlas was also pretty good, but I think we have other ones that are bigger. We probably won't grow the Atlas again. We will not grow the German pink, and we will not grow a beefsteak tomato. As anyone who grows a beefsteak knows, you get so many wrinkles that you don't really get the usable slices that you'd want. And all those other tomatoes I mentioned were smooth for us, so we're definitely going to grow Abe Lincoln Trophy, Damsel, Madame, maybe Atlas.
Marbone?
Oh, I've included Marbone in the other category, so like I'm blending these together, sorry. We are definitely growing Marbones again. In fact, we are overwintering them because they're an F1 seed and we don't want to have to buy the $10 packet of seeds again. So we're going to grow those over the winter. They were beautiful, really big. Some of them were quite big, but we also have a couple other in this category: early pick, early girl, and summer girl. To me, those three were pretty much the same. We might pick just 2 of those to grow again. Vivacious was our one orange kind of salad tomato. It was a beautiful tomato. I liked it. I thought the flavor was good. My mom thought it was a little overhyped, but it was the only orange tomato we grew, and I really thought it was pretty, so we'll probably grow Vivacious again. But 4th of July was the tomato that Jason did his testing on for the worm casting tea. And I'll just throw up some weights for those 2 so you can see them. But we got a lot of those and they were very tasty and we really liked them. So I was glad that he did the test on those 2 particular tomatoes. Just to wrap it up, there are a couple more tomatoes that we grew that we're not going to grow again. One of them is the chocolate pearl. Again, sort of difficult to determine when it was actually ready, but it was also the only tomato that consistently got blossom end rot. And towards the end of the season, we don't know what this was, but as my mother was processing them, there were often little holes in the top where some sort of bug had burrowed into the tomato, and when she would cut it open, it wouldn't be good. So my mother threw all of those out. So definitely no chocolate pearl. And we also grew an Amish paste, but nobody was impressed, and I don't know if it was because the poor plant was stuck on the end and it never really grew very much. We only had one of them. I don't know, we might give it a try again, but we made all our tomato sauce out of all the other tomatoes, and we were perfectly happy with it. They were delicious, roasted first and then blended together, so I recommend that highly. The one thing I forgot to mention was when we set up our tomato cages this year, we were really concerned about having half and half. So we would have a honeycomb on one side and a honeycomb on the other side. Just like the zucchini, we are not doing that next year. All of the cherry tomatoes will be together, and all of the big tomatoes will be together, and all of the mid-sized tomatoes will be together. Cherry tomatoes can go wild and they can run all over each other. It's not as much fun when they run all over the big tomatoes. So I would say that's definitely one of the things we're going to keep in mind for next year as we start planning. I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks so much for watching. If you grew any of these tomatoes and you like them, please let us know down in the comments. If you have a suggestion for us here in our new zone 5B6A that you think would work really good for us, do let us know. Remember, we do have heavy clay soil that we are amending. So if you have any other suggestions, let us know. Let us know what your favorite tomato is. And have a great day and stay awesome.
I got a question.
Oh.
If you could only pick between shade cloth and worm casting tea, what would you pick?
Why do I have to pick between those 2 things? I don't wanna have to pick. I think they're both essential for the success of these tomatoes this year. Both of them in different ways really added to the success of the tomatoes. I don't know that we would have gotten so much tomatoes without both of them. Shade cloth.
Me too.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd definitely go with shade cloth.
Here, shade cloth. In Victoria, it would have been the worm casting tea, but here we have to have the shade cloth.
And like you said, we don't have to pick.
We don't have to pick.
And it depends. The answer to every gardening question is, it depends.
It depends.
So, awesome. Thanks, guys.
My guess was 32. Your guess was 32 and a half.
Right. Okay, biggest tomato. So Abe Lincoln. $32 ounces.
32.87 ounces. Early girl. Abe Lincoln. Vivacious. Cherry baby. A black crim. A chocolate pearl. Classic beefsteak. Trophy. Black cherry. Madame. Fourth of July. Early pick. Summer girl. Amish paste. And this guy's the Black Prince that Uncle Harry bought. It's getting a little big for its britches.